Listener discretion is advised. It's time for another Steel Revolution podcast.
Playing Steel Revolution's podcast.
Please keep in mind that the opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the individuals, and they do not reflect any official view of the United Steelworkers, USW Local 105, or its officers or sub-board members for officers.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to Steel Revolution 142.
142.
I'm Roy Hutt.
Mike Nicholas.
Sean Geisens.
Pat Stock.
Lee Schaefer.
All right, well, we're going to begin the podcast with a moment of silence. We had two former officers pass away here. Jane Bailey, she was the financial secretary from 2011 to 2012, and Skip McGill, former president.
From 2002 to 2012.
We'll do a moment of silence and then come right back. So back after the moment of silence, it was a very shock. Both Jane and Skip passed so close together. So want to wish their families the best, and if we hear more of what's going on, we will let people know in the Forerunner and that.
Yep.
So a reminder that actually today is the last day for the wellness reimbursement. So if you want to turn in what you paid for your gym membership last year, that is due today. Update from the charity bingo event we had February 1st of this year. The Civil and Human Rights Committee did raise over $500 from that charity bingo event, and that money will go toward supporting a school supply drive here in Davenport.
I won a couple baskets in that.
A couple?
Oh, yeah.
Man, what'd you win?
Really?
Buddy?
Anything good?
I mean, I don't think it was me, actually. It was
Your family.
Chloe and me.
Well, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You tend to win a lot, right?
Schaefer's was winning. They're back. They're back. They're hot now again.
You got a lot going on. Got that and the Schaefer scale, and man, you guys are guys and ladies.
He's rolling.
When you're more than
Good.
50% of the people there, you have a better shot.
That's true.
Well, you were 50% of something else, and the Schaefers didn't win.
This
get
is
to that later,
this is
right?
true. We'll talk later.
Yeah, we'll
This
get
is
to
very
that.
true.
We'll get to that. But first,
I said more than 50%.
wanted to comment on that. That's your magic. It has to
Yeah.
be over 50%.
I'm just saying that's what I said.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
All right. You just totally sidetracked
Yes,
everything.
he moved everything.
Yeah.
At the beginning of February, plant manager Jeff White did have town halls, so he gave a update of what happened last year and a look into the forecast. And this coming year, bargaining reps did have a article in the Forerunner to respond to what we heard at town halls. There was at least two of us at each one, if not more, to hear what was coming off the floor and hear what Jeff was saying. You know, one thing that stood out was certainly safety.
Oh, absolutely. No, sorry. I was paying attention to my phone. No, absolutely. And one of the biggest things coming out of safety is communications. When we have FSIs, we have injuries, they need to be communicated to every employee, and not just, hey, let's print something out and throw it on a break room table so people can read it. That stuff gets thrown away. What I'd like to see and what we're going to continue to discuss with the company is we have an FSIP. Give an example, the 810-7 crane in Ingot that we lost the bail on, and I mean, some people say it went on its own and double blocked. Either way, we still have people that haven't heard about it, and that's something big enough that everybody is affected by cranes in that plant. So we should have had each and every manager out on the floor or sitting in a conference room discussing this, because that's what we got to have is the conversations and how this could happen, why it happens, and not just in our own plant. Stuff that happens at Tennessee or Lafayette that could affect us here. We got to learn from it. Otherwise, we're going to repeat it. And we might get lucky this time, and then next time we're going to have an injury or worse, a fatality. So we got to continue to push that. And if there's something that somebody hears about and has not had a discussion about, we need to know about it. Talk to your committee person. But we'll push it from our end too. So,
Well, right. I mean, you're right, Mike. We got to get the communication out, but not only do we got to get the communication out, we got to make sure the right people are communicating it.
yeah, that's why I said it has, in my mind, I mean, we could have a discussion, but I don't want a supervisor just out there going, yep, reading straight from a piece of paper. I want somebody that knows something. I'd prefer it to be the EHS professionals, but we have two right now. So to me, it needs to be the managers. Each one of the managers needs to care about safety enough to take the time, 10 minutes for each shift, and go have a conversation, or 30 minutes, whatever it takes. So
Well, how many of our new employees actually know what tube blocking is? You know, and out of those people that know or don't know, how many people realize that when that happened a while ago, it cost somebody their life out there?
and we've had this conversation. I walked the floor a few days, a week after this happened, and was asking people if they know the importance, know why they do that. And not everybody, but there was a big number that said, no, I don't know why I do that. It's just on my checklist here. And some of it happened to be at the PC where we had that fatality 25 years ago. We're not communicating the right things. We're not talking about what has happened out here and why we do things.
And
We got to get back to that.
And I guess what I should say too is not only do we not have the hourly folks that know that, but we certainly don't have the salary folks that understand that either.
No, you're absolutely right. So, I mean, the people that understand it, I mean, we're burdened with that too. It's not just salary people. I mean, we need to go talk to people as well, because there are quite a few of us that do understand it and know it. So,
Yeah, I mean, most important, if one thing too coming out, I mean, we can't get away from safety without saying stop if you
that's right. Yeah.
if you don't know, something doesn't seem right. Also on our response was listening. So we had like a top 4 of things we heard at the town hall meetings.
Yeah, listening. So we seem to have a problem with if some of the union members have ideas. Some of these ideas are things that have been around for a long time and we've just gotten away from or whatever. And unfortunately, we've, over the past 5+, I don't know how many years, had a huge turnover in salary, so we've got a lot of new salary folks on the floor. So bottom line is they need to listen to us. We have a lot of people that do have a lot of experience out there that have done this job for a long time. And they want this place to succeed. So when they come up with ideas or, whether it's a new idea or an old idea, something that's worked in the past, we're not being listened to. So to me, it's very important. We brought this up to a very high level and at the leadership level. So we need this to cascade down to, department manager level to the floor level. They need to listen to us.
And we need to continue to bring it up. If they're
Yeah.
not listening, we can't let it go. It's fallen on deaf ears, but we need to continue to bring it up every chance we get.
Yeah, we also brought up, or Jeff did at his town halls, that there is a good amount of investments happening at the facility, which is great. It's always good to have money coming in to fix and repair, because when that doesn't happen, it's time to be worried. So, but at the same time, you need to be asking the people out on the floor, is this a good thing if we do this? Get the feedback from the experts that run the PCs that are in the area working, and get them involved early, because if you don't, usually problems happen afterwards. And then also, certainly as head count, know that the company in general is concerned about hiring people when they're not needed, or hiring people then only later to not need them. And really they shut off at the end of last year hiring and didn't hire for a while. And then at the beginning of this year did not do it, at least here in January and February. It looks like they will hire in March and April, and hopefully we get some people in here because we most certainly need them. Having a lot of forced overtime in a few areas needs to be addressed, and we got to be ready too. Got to be have people trained and ready to go.
Yep.
We did have the Union Solidarity Night at the Storm game, which was last Saturday.
So, I mean, most of us were there. We did sell out. We sold out a little earlier than we usually do. Got rid of our 232 tickets this year, which was great. I see most everybody showed up. I thought it was a pretty good night. The Storm won.
Yeah, it's a good game.
We did get a few of our members, officers, out on the ice again this year. Same race, different result this year.
Wait.
Depending on.
I think we have some audio from what happened.
Come on, man, slingshot it! Slingshot, come on! I can't believe it. If it isn't Mike Honcho himself, shake and bake, buddy! Shake it before you bake it! Here I come. Slingshot engaged.
So is that shake and bake you and Tony then?
No, that was me and Lee.
Well, it was you and Lee. That's right. Yeah.
And we shake and baked Tony.
That's right. You did, didn't you? I thought it was a good race. We did have a clear winner this year. So,
Who would have thought Lee was such a sprinter?
Yeah.
Hopped out to an early
I
lead.
did, yeah.
We better post that.
and then died really quick.
I don't know, died. I mean, that's a...
Shit the bed. I mean, what else do you want to? I mean, we can categorize it however you want here, Lee.
I'd rather say I shit the bed than die.
Okay. And
I hope John Lepley's kids aren't in the car listening to this.
I know they already know that word or that phrase. I'm sure.
Well, he learned it from Uncle Mike.
But I mean, really, I mean, 50% Schaefer, and we couldn't even get a top two.
I know.
That Gingerbeard's faster than he appears.
Yeah, I definitely.
get it.
I could definitely see the disappointment in his eyes when he came back upstairs. He wanted that win bad.
He should have had it.
So we'll look forward to the the rubber match now.
No, I got one more race in me, and that's going to be when we have a solidarity event a year from contract.
No, I agree. We're gonna have the rubber match though, because Tony's won one and you've won one now.
And I'm retiring. My legs still hurt.
No, I don't mean on the ice. The rubber match will be
Okay.
a year from contract.
And then
I agree.
Then I'm going to retire. I'm going to let some younger folks do it.
Lee, you're still racing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be on land.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll hype this one up.
Yeah. We can do that.
I'm going to start training.
Start training.
Yep.
Thought you had
You and Collier going to work on this one together?
I can't believe you said that on this.
I don't care.
No, Mike.
Hey, Dave offered to help train you.
Yeah, after you guys,
Listen,
after what you guys said this morning. Thanks.
I think it'd be awesome. I mean, Pat's training Lee, so you better watch out.
Who? I mean, in the He-Man Muscle Club, who's like Skeletor?
Who's She-Ra?
Who's Beastman?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned
Ram Man.
You mentioned one.
Orko.
Okay.
Orko. Yeah, good.
A
call.
lot of the listeners don't know what this is about, but you mentioned you see Steve Jennings up at the Y working out once, and this is what you get.
What, the He-Man Muscle Club? I didn't name it that.
You didn't mention that you saw him once. You mentioned that you and him were workout buddies.
Yeah, okay. This is how rumors start out there at the mill.
But this is not a rumor.
Just like this.
This is not.
Just like
Again,
this.
to all the listeners, each of our guys in the race will have somebody training them.
Yeah.
And Roy has the He-Man Muscle Club.
I will. No, my daughter. I was going to say I'll have somebody else. Don't worry about that. It will not be a member of salary.
Hey, I think you got a good one there. So, I mean, I think Lee's the one that's going to be behind. I mean, matchstick legs ain't going to do much for Lee there.
Now they're going to get on the bike.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I mean, when you're a racer, you're going to be Prince Adam or you're going to be He-Man? You gonna transform
Yes, he will.
for the race? Ride in on Battle Cat?
By the power of Grayskull.
By the power of Arconic.
Hey, I think we need to get as many people to this race as possible. So, however we got to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. By your
Roy is requesting some help.
fake news.
Fake
You're
news.
giving.
I mean, didn't you tell us that was a He-Man Muscle Club?
I'm pretty sure you're
It
the one that
wasn't.
named
No
it.
one else made it up.
No,
it was
I-
you.
It most certainly was one of you guys down here that made
No,
that up.
No, it was not.
I
it was-
that's pretty cool. I
like
could
that
take
name.
credit
I mean,
for it.
Yeah.
And I hear there's shirts out there already for it.
Yeah, okay.
Mike, you're going to have to get another section. 2 sections next year.
Okay. Well, no, the next race will be on land.
Oh, on
this
land,
summer.
that's right, yeah.
This
Yeah.
summer, right?
Yep. This
This May?
Yep. That's 24 calendar. Let me see. What do we got by the weekend? Oh, yep. There we could.
It's
There's
perfect.
probably the 24th, so not quite a year, but probably the 24th
I
of
think
May.
we plan it. Maybe plan. I mean, we'll work on it. We don't got much time to hype it up.
We got to find a good location. That's the
I
thing.
agree.
Where it's a good location to race. I don't know.
I want it to be safe. Safety's number one.
Yeah.
If we're not safe, we can't have a good race. So
I just got to stretch. Definitely got to stretch before.
That's your plan?
I'm gonna pull some.
My plan is to stretch before the race.
Yeah.
just pay attention to the podcast. We'll let you know
Yeah.
in the next 2 months where and when, and you'll want to be there. I promise.
I just try not to get injured and Lee.
Okay.
That's just the goal.
The only one that's gotten hurt is you.
Yeah. I got hurt playing a
I
kickball
still
game.
have lots of questions, so we'll talk about them offline and get back to our tens of listeners.
Right. Okay.
All right, moving on.
All right, the A.F. Kojatinsky scholarships are, well, the deadline for one.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to jump in there,
I
bud.
didn't know I was doing this.
I thought you were,
Okay. Yeah, the deadline was today
For one of them.
for one of them.
for the memorial.
Yeah. For the other one, it's March 31st.
So
for the scholarship.
Yeah, the vocational. So if you're going into the trade, you still got a shot at that one. We are actively trying to get dates for the next arbitration. We're having a hard time with vacations, conferences,
A lot
the
of things going on.
arbitrator's schedule to get that in. So we're still actively working on dates for that. Last third levels were January 29th and 30th. Those answers are due the 17th of next month. There is no board or committee person meeting or membership meeting for the month of March. So we will start back with those meetings in April.
Yep.
So Lee, you just got back at the Iowa Federation of Labor Legislative Convention. What can you tell us from that?
Yeah, some of us that live in Iowa went up to the legislative conference. Myself, Pat, Tanya Clark, and Brandon Grieve all went up there. Just a couple of the things that are actually hot topic items that we went and talked to some legislators about. Unemployment is another key issue. I don't know how or why they keep wanting to change this. If you remember back in 2022, they reduced the number of weeks you can be out on unemployment from 26 to 16. So they've already reduced unemployment. There was actually some provisions in there too. It doesn't matter if you're laid off or your plant's closed or anything like that. It really doesn't matter. So the next thing they're going after is they want to make it a tax cut for the employers. Why they do? Well, I mean, it's to save more money, right, for the rich employers. So one of the big issues with this is we want to make sure that this is funded. Right now, it's good. Unemployment's low in the state of Iowa, but what happens if there's another downturn like there was in 2008, 2009? I know I was laid off. I think you guys were too as well for a little bit.
Yeah, I think all of us were.
I was laid off for a year and a half, so.
Yeah, I think you were the longest out of all of
16
us.
Yeah, 16 weeks wouldn't do a whole lot. And, we're worried about that there will be actual funding. If they're going to start putting less into this fund, we're worried about if there's going to be enough money if there is a big downturn like that. So that's one of the big issues. Another one in the Senate that has to do with unemployment is they want to make it to where if you get a severance payout, that you won't start getting unemployment until however much your severance pay is. So, like, for example, if your severance pay is $2,000 and you get $500 a week in unemployment, you can't start filing for unemployment for 4 weeks until that $2,000 is quote unquote gone.
And that kind of negates anything that severance was for to begin with.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll be honest, just one thing I'm worried about is what's next. Are they going to go after sub pay?
Yeah.
Or are they going to start trying to subtract sub pay out of your unemployment insurance? They're trying to
which then would basically screw everybody that gets laid off.
Yep.
Depending on how long you're laid off, that sub pay really helps.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why we keep going after unemployment. People that have lost their job from no fault of their own.
That's right.
Right. I mean, we're not talking about people that's been fired or for doing something wrong
or not showing up to work and shit like that.
This is people there's been layoffs or whatever. So very, very frustrating. One of the other things that we talked about is actually something that pertains to us out here. We got the Veterans Benefit Workplace poster. We're trying to get that to where making it mandatory for all employers to post that. All we're trying to do is get them to post benefits and resources that veterans can go to that they're eligible for. So we took a run at it last year, and I think the year before actually too. So we'll see what we'll get with it, but kind of frustrating. This should be an easy bipartisan bill that goes through. So that's kind of the two I wanted to hit on.
All right, thank you, Lee.
Well, kind of going from unemployment to extra employment, I guess. So the production hiring for Arconic closed earlier this week, the 23rd, right?
Yeah,
23rd last week. Over 1,100 applications and resumes were sent in. So they're going to be testing at Workforce Development and then doing the interviews. So a little bit different than kind of what they've done in the past. They're setting up, I believe, HR told us 20 at a time. They're going to go up, they're going to test, and then they will know their test scores immediately. If they pass the test, they'll be moved into the other part of the building and they will be interviewed same day. So that way you're not having to drive there, drive back, drive there, drive back. You'll get it all done and all that part done in one day, and then they can decide if they want to hire you and move you to the next phase of the physical and the background check and that stuff. So if you know somebody that's put in, they have started calling. It hasn't been very many so far, but they are starting to work their way through the applications.
A reminder that the FMLAs are still watching the attendance, and pretty much from what we've been told is there's been some recertifications, and we'll see. I expect there to be more being done as we move towards the end of the year. But just a reminder, they're watching that. They're even going as far as to track it, and it's a report out at the 9 o'clock how many people called off and then how many people called off FMLA. So they are putting a lot of resources and putting a spotlight on FMLA use at the plant. Another thing they're starting to watch is overtime restrictions. So what started in Ingot, as they started denying based on we can only allow a percentage of these people in this classification to have an overtime restriction, moved down to IPS. There's really no rhyme or reason across the plan on what they're doing, and I don't really believe that our HR department knows exactly what's being done in every department. They've kind of let the area managers run wild with this. So we sat down with them. We did give them a lengthy information request, and we're trying to work through this. So like I said, it's really new. They did it once to a couple people in Plate Mill a few years ago, but never really heard much more out of it. So again, if you're one of the ones that get denied, reach out to the union, try to get an appeal form. We need to get that appeal in. That's at least a first step while we try to figure out exactly what they're doing and get more information that we can use later on, whether it's a grievance or filing with a outside agency. So again, I mean, it's new. Really have way more questions than we do answers right now. But we will keep you up to date as we move forward. And in a couple weeks, the bargaining committee will be going down to Tennessee for a meeting. So Chris Ayers, Diana Pereira will be there, along with plant managers, upper leadership for Arconic will be there. So we'll be going there to voice concerns about what's going on at Davenport, and to hear from Chris and Diana the outlook for at least the rest of the year here. See what they have to say. So there'll be more to come after that, but I'll let you guys know we'll be taking concerns, and a lot of them's probably out of like our town hall response. A lot of those concerns is what we'll be taking down there. Contract is up in 2026 at noon on May 16th. Man, I'm way off. I was way off when I said the 25th. Man, we could do the 17th of May or the 24th for a year out.
We'll figure it out. What works best.
I don't know what I was thinking about. So anyway, May 16th at noon, contract expires, roughly 442 days away, or 63 paychecks. If you save $50 a week, you would have $3,150.
That's some scratch.
It's about enough for 2 people to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And another contract that is up, though, this year is the IBEW contract. So the electricians out there at the plant do have their contract coming up, so we will be watching that and looking to see what they get as we work on our issues going forward. There's the bake sale 2 in February. Man, February's a busy month. The proceeds from the bake sale went to the River Bend Food Bank, and they raised over $2,700.
Of course, that's a lot of dough for the bake sale.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Retirement. Reminder, Dan down here, office manager Dan down here at the hall, is your go-to resource for retirement. His hours are 6:30 to 2:30 Monday through Friday. Call before you come to the hall. Make sure he's here. Like today, he has a vacation day. Set up an appointment. He'll help you out, keep you informed on what you need to do and when, and help you through the process. As a retiree, a reminder, you get $175 in union merchandise, and your first year of SOAR dues are paid. We can also help you turn in your intent to retire. Again, that's for $500. That has to be in 3 full months before you retire. You can only retire on the first of the month. And check your pay grade. Your pay grade, it's the highest pay grade in the last 10 years, and you got to have 1,000 hours within that time period, the whole 1,000. SOAR meetings are the first Thursday of each month. And a reminder, we do have a flyer down here if you're having issues with Humana and Genesis Mercy One. We do have a flyer we can give you to hopefully help you make sure they bill your insurance. Because remember, we have an open network or an open PPO, so there is no in or out of network. So as long as they bill Humana, you'll be fine.
Should be good. Yep.
Did have one retirement out at the plant today. So John Riches retired today. Listener of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations to John, 33 years out there. One of a few salary folks we know that watch the show and was
That listen.
yeah,
Watch
and
it, but
watch
They
it.
listen.
yeah.
Gave us a cowbell.
Thanks, John.
Because he listened. He listened, and I think we had something about we need more cowbell, and he goes, "Oh, hey, here, I got something for you."
Yeah, nice.
Nice.
So, yeah, a good retirement, John. Lee, do we have any update
Yeah,
from
today was bridging the gap, 1 day stand down. So, yeah, that was going on today. Probably still is. Yep.
Well, there's no clock in here.
No.
That's what you were looking for.
2:32. Look at my clock. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So.
Did you have something, Mike?
No.
Oh, I thought you were.
No.
I totally went over my head. Whatever.
I figured it did, and it won't here in a few minutes, but that's fine.
Okay.
Well, then you just close the show out. Then I don't know what you're doing.
How do we close the show out without doing our great interview that we had, and then
Oh yeah.
that's why
Oh, I wasn't
that's
part of
why
it.
I said, I know I wasn't either, but I thought about it. I was kind of trying to help Lee out there a little bit, but
Too worried about Ricky Bobby and shake and bake.
No,
that was live footage
Was that-
from the
was it?
race.
Okay.
yeah, I recall hearing that as I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
recording. So.
Yeah, I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean I think we have a great interview
Yeah, it's
today,
really
and Lee and Pat took the reins, and you and I were out, so we don't know what was said, what was done. So
So do you have it? Chad Finch from AFG. What is it? 2119.
Yep.
The interview's right over there with all
Yeah.
the.
2119. Yep.
he wasn't ready.
Yeah, AFG. They represent federal employees. So Lee, what do you?
Yeah, I mean it's.
What'd you guys talk about?
It's a good perspective of some government workers, federal workers, and kind of what they've been going through, specifically union workers. I mean, that's what Chad was here to talk about. Obviously, there's a bigger federal issue, whatever you want to call it, gaggle, whatever you want to call it.
It's a mess.
Yeah,
I mean it's a mess. Yeah,
But this is a really good interview. It's pertains to AFG.
and Chad's the vice president,
specifically.
right?
Yep, he's the vice president. So
Okay.
it's a really good interview.
Okay.
All right, we'll be back after the interview.
Well, joining us today on the podcast is Chad Finch. Chad is the vice president of the AFGE Local 2119. Thanks for joining us today, Chad.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Chad, what is the AFGE?
AFGE is the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent about 350,000 federal employees around the United States, from anyone from air traffic control to TSA to Social Security, VA, what we do at the arsenal and the shop. We cover a lot of ground.
Okay. Now, do you come from a union background?
Yes, I do. My father was a 38 member of UAW, worked out of Harvester in East Moline, Local 165. My grandmother also was out of 865, my bad. And my brother's painter plaster out of, I can't remember what local it is. I wrote it down. I can't find it now.
No worries.
Yeah, so he's been a painter plasterer for about 10 years. My grandparents all worked at Deere, Case IH, all that stuff in the area.
Yep.
So,
Big history.
yeah, long time.
Nice.
All right, go ahead, Lee.
Oh, okay. So we, well, you already answered how many members are in your local. So what exactly, the local you represent here, what kind of work do they do?
Ours is, I represent the wage grade employees and anything non-supervisory. And it's basically factory work. We have anything from a foundry, forge, heat treat, paint, plating, machining, you name it, we do it within the factory. We're the only federal installation with an actual working foundry in the United States, so that's a big one for us.
Yeah.
Brings us a lot of work.
Okay. Also, how many veterans are a member in your local? Do
It's
you know?
around 30%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's quite a
Pretty
few.
big
Yeah, it's
percent.
quite a few.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a lot of veterans here at Davenport, and we'd like to support them. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I imagine
Absolutely.
working at the Arsenal, there are a lot of veterans.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits being a veteran when you start within the federal government. That's basically what civil service is set up for.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Well, let's get into the real issues.
All right.
The DOD or Doge, however they're pronouncing it, doggy.
The Doge. Yeah.
So have you seen any cost cutting or efficiency measures instituted there yet?
As far as DOJ itself, there's been a lot of memorandums put out, but these memorandums aren't law. It really just is depending on what agencies follow them and what's not. So, for instance, the hiring freeze. They put all federal employees on a hiring freeze. That didn't come into effect to us right away. It came about 2 weeks later, and ours came from ASC, which is our command. It's ASC, TACOM, and then us. They put that out. But we did have to do the early resignation program. We had to put that out and allow people to put in for that. I know within our facility, there was a handful of folks that put into it and were accepted as of last week. And as of yesterday, it's been put on hold again. So we're not really sure how this is going to play out with the early resignation. I do know within the cost of it for us. So if these employees do get accepted in and it moves forward, it comes out of our kitty to pay these folks to stay home until their date they're no longer with the federal government. And we also had to give up 10 job slots that we had.
Oh, wow.
And put them into a kitty for all the other arsenals and depots to use and wherever they were shorthanded.
So, just some of the things I'm thinking about. Normally, this takes an act of Congress to put a lot of these buyouts into effect and everything. Now, have you guys talked to your legislators? What are they saying?
I've reached out, and they are as up in arms as the rest of us. Congress feels like they have no power in any of this. I'd sent an email out on Tuesday to Senator Ernst, Senator Grassley, Senator Duckworth, Senator Durbin, Representative Miller Meeks, and Representative Sorensen. I wrote them all the same letter, sent it out, talking about just how much the warfighter counts on what we do in the factory, the amount of jobs it is in the area, how the Quad Cities really can't afford to lose any jobs through a RIF procedure, especially after what's going on at UAW and John Deere. It would just devastate the Quad Cities. We'll end up being Galesburg in about 5 years if something happens to the arsenal.
Right, that kind of leads into my next question. Yeah. I mean, what's the general feeling over there right now?
Everybody's up in arms and scared for the most part. There's still some folks that I guess this is what they voted for, so they kind of seem okay with it, which I can't wrap my head around. But it's still, we have kind of a conservative membership. A lot of them are retired vets, and they're typically a little more conservative. Some are on board with it, some are not. It's a nice mixed bag.
So, I knew I'd kind of have more questions going on.
Right.
What's it been like typically? So, and I know we see in the news you guys get emails, and I know we were up at the legislative conference saying, hey, you guys get all these emails and stuff. Mm-hmm. What's it been like? And I mean, are these emails going out to everybody? Kind of what's it been like?
Yeah, so first one we got was the Fork in the Road one, which was the early resignation. It came through from some OPM. It's not the actual OPM website. It's kind of like a public forum for OPM that they created. We got that first one for the early resignations. And then last Saturday, we got the tell us the 5 things you did last week bullet points. And that kind of went down from agency to agency. They sent down direction. We were told that they would take care of it for us not to fill it out specifically.
Okay.
And then today, the Sec General of the Army said we have to fill those out next week.
So I might have missed that. Is that each employee got that email?
Each employee got that email.
And we're talking the factory workers at the arsenal.
Yep.
That may be a welder, maybe some type of fabricator. They all got that email.
Yeah. So the agency's view was, well, that's not fair. We assign your daily work. So they kind of answered it per job description, which we call a PD. They answered it in that way. But I guess that's not good enough because next week we're going to be
crazy
filling those out.
Crazy.
That's nuts. Okay, so if you guys would happen to, let's say they have layoffs and everything, what is you guys' process for that?
So it's called the reduction in force. It's called a RIF. And I do want to get this clear, and it's not your guys' fault. This is all over the media. You do not
that's what we want to ask.
You don't get laid off from the federal government.
Okay.
You are done. You have to reapply. There is no callback rights, anything like that. So once a RIF procedure goes into effect, and it's based off of military time, seniority, Your yearly appraisals, it's a point system. And then it's based off what job you do, how many job slots there are available for that, how many they need. Typically, the wage grade system, I think we have wage grades up to, I think, a 13, maybe an 11 at the Arsenal. But you can go back 2 pay grades of a job you previously held before. So say I'm a wage grade 9 painter. I've been a wage grade 7 painter, and I've been a wage grade 6 blaster. So technically, if the slot's there, I can bump down from a 9 to a 7 and keep my job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But we really don't know how it's all going to play out yet. And that usually comes in phases. 1, 2, and 3 years, they'll do several rifts. And at the beginning, most people end up just moving to another job slot. We don't really lose that many, but once they start eliminating more, people start to lose their jobs. They will offer a VERA, which is an early retirement. There's criteria you have to meet for a certain age and a certain amount of years with federal employment. And then usually when they don't get enough people for that, they'll offer what's called a VERA Visa, which you get that and you'll get a $25,000 bonus, which is like $17,500 after taxes, is what they end up bringing home for an early out.
Okay.
So,
and it sounds like you guys got steps that need to be followed. Just kind of what we've seen in the media, they're not always following steps the way they need to be followed. So if they don't follow the process and let people go in the right contractual order, what actions can you guys take to rectify that?
this is the kicker. So the Civil Service Act of 1978, it was after Watergate. They put in some other things because they were having concern that career civil servants could not be fired. So they put these steps in. But they also put in there that it must go through MSPB, the Inspector Generals, FLRA, and National Labor Relations Board. And so the National Labor Relations Board, the first thing Trump did when he got inaugurated was fired the chairwoman, Gwen Wilcox. So that board will not hear any cases. And then they went to FLRA and they fired Susan Tucci Grandman. So that nothing's going to be heard there. They fired all the inspector generals that have to do anything with labor. And then the MSPB chaired Kathy Harris was fired, but a court stepped in and reinstated her, but it's only a temporary reinstatement. So basically, when we took the first case to court over the threats and the firings, the judge said, you're not wrong, but the Civil Service Act of 1978 says you have to take it through these avenues, and these boards aren't staffed.
And I mean, I know that's at our business meetings, and we've actually put it out on Facebook and stuff too, social media, but we need people to contact their representatives and senators to get them reinstated to at least get a quorum, on these boards. It's that's vitally important. I don't care who you voted for.
That's truly an avenue, the NLRB, and filing board charges to protect the unions when companies don't do things right.
Right.
So, I'll just say elections have consequences, and we're seeing those.
Absolutely, we do.
Yep.
So, I guess, what are your guys' concerns going forward? I know you spoke a lot about the uncertainty out there. Do you guys have a plan? I mean,
nationally, we've been concerned in the previous time when President Trump was in office. He specifically wrote a bunch of executive orders just to go after federal employees and federal unions. We were kicked out of our office, forced to go back to the table and negotiate under a timeline with some things they wouldn't bargain with. It was chaos the first time. We made it through it. But now here we are, back at it again. So he hasn't quite went that route on attacking federal unions specifically. But I did get a memorandum today that says every agency must submit their last year's official time, the amount of official time we get to represent our employees. They have to submit last year's number of hours by like April 1st or something like that. No later than March 13th.
And is that something you guys usually track? Or?
Yeah, that's all tracked through our system. So they can pull that, why they're asking they can look at that. I don't know why they're asking for it again. I don't know if it's another scare tactic. I've seen some interviews with some folks from Project 2025 who are in this administration, and their main goal is to harass federal employees and make it so they do not want to come to work.
Right.
They want you to quit.
Yeah. I mean, you see a lot of stuff. You know, my biggest worry is this affects our national defense.
Yes.
You know, whatever could happen, you know, we need a strong national defense. Me, Lee being a veteran, you know, we see that, we've lived it, you know, and we've always been strong. And I'm just afraid to look at what's going to happen down the line in the next year, 4 years.
Absolutely. I can give you a quick rundown, too. I've got some of the stuff that they've tried to implement against the federal workforce so far.
That'd be great.
Great.
The return to work for everybody that did telework, or it was actually remote work. Telework and remote work are two different things. Telework is it might just be 1 or 2 days a week or situational, depending on weather or your facilities. And then there's the remote work where the jobs you actually applied for, you don't live anywhere near what you're doing. Everything's online. So they've implemented that, and actually our telework folks, or our remote work folks, reported back to work today, or this week. It's there's a lot of folks that came back.
Sure.
So.
Well, hey, real quick, what are some reasons? Is that just a job choice, or to do telework, or is there anything behind that? Like, say I'm disabled, I can't make it.
Right.
Do you have those type of people in those jobs?
Yes, and there's those type of protections. Those people should still be okay.
Okay.
Those special circumstances. I think it was more after COVID hit and everybody kind of went home.
Sure.
And then a lot of people just stayed home and they weren't sure how to handle it at first. All the negative numbers you hear on the media were during the Trump presidency when they had no idea what was going on. Once they actually got policies in place and got it, everybody's doing their job. Everybody's got a boss. They still have their Zoom meetings. The only difference is they're doing it from home. They're not spending money on gas, daycare, groceries. They're doing it from home. On the flip side, that's a lot of office space that's left open all over too, and that's money that's contributed to your community when people go to work and they go out and eat lunch. So I could see a loss there, but that's not their intention. It's just optics. It's completely optics.
Right.
And then they're trying to reform federal hiring. The quote now is you have to have American ideals to work for the federal government. It's killing the merit-based hiring system. They want to fire probationary employees, which a judge overturned. It was either this morning or last night. That was finally overturned. We'll see if they comply. They were told to do it by midnight last night. We'll see if they comply. The federal hiring freeze. They talk about how oversized the federal government is. The civil service sector hasn't grown since the 1970s. It's the same size. So this idea that civil service and the federal employees are just running the world, it's the same size as it always was. And our population's exploded since the 1970s.
Sure.
You know, that's more people drawing VA benefits, more people drawing Social Security, disability. It's chaos. Let's see. His executive orders is still just hitting on getting rid of the what am I thinking of? Well, executive orders, basically it's going to turn the merit system promotions within the federal government just basically a political appointees. Sure. It's whoever they want, whoever's loyal, whoever will do whatever they say. That's
is that what you mean by American ideals?
Yes, that's exactly.
Okay, loyalty to
loyalty to
the president.
Not
necessarily to America, but
nepotism.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And other than that, that's what he's attempted so far.
So it sounds like you guys got a lot on your plate. I mean, we all do right now.
Yeah.
You know, we all have to do the work to keep our people employed. You know, sounds like a lot of bad ideas. You know, I get maybe trying to save some money, but this seems like the wrong way to go right now.
Right.
So
you see what they've done at Doge when they show up these contracts on their website, and it'll say, well, this contract's $8 billion. Well, we're cutting that out. We saved $8 billion. What they don't tell you is they've already probably paid $5 or $6 billion out of it, and the other $2 billion by law have to be paid. The contract has to be honored.
So no savings?
So the savings are quite misleading when he posts all that stuff online.
Sure. Imagine that. I guess that's kind of all the questions we had. One thing I want, for anyone that's listening, or what is it we can do to help? to help you guys out if you do get into right now it doesn't sound like they're doing anything just yet. But when I don't know about you, but I feel like there's something coming down the road.
So and I don't want to make people think that it's not happening to every agency. It's happening to most agencies. Border Patrol, anything to do with national security. They've been exempt so far for the most part. Mm-hmm. I think we're considered more defense than national security. So
kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, I would think they go hand in hand too. And I was looking up the definition of what OPM called national security yesterday, and we don't fall under it. It's defense.
Wow.
So police, firemen, stuff like that, any public protection, they should be exempt. But we really don't know for sure.
Okay.
But it's just harassment. It's 100% harassment.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, Chad, I think that's all we have today. Okay. I appreciate you stopping by, and if there's anything that we could do to help, let us know.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
You have a good day.
Thanks. All right. Coming out of the interview, it was a good interview. Appreciate Chad Finch coming down. It's kind of nice. I like the perspective he gave from an actual union members that could be affected by these possible, well, as he said, layoffs aren't layoffs. You're done. So it's unfortunate. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks to Chad, and I hear Pat did okay.
Yeah, surprisingly, yes, he did well.
Good. That's good to hear.
I don't
think he blacks out, and then he's like, where was I at?
Yeah.
Like an Old School?
Yeah,
Old School, that's exactly what I was going to say.
See? I've seen that movie before.
That's good. There's hope. Yeah.
I still have your list that you gave me a few.
Do you? I bet you.
A few years ago. I'll get to it.
I don't think Pat's going to take your job or anything, but he did well.
Okay.
Roy just doesn't sound happy.
Well, I mean, it's okay when you do like half the job.
Yeah.
I mean, when you
don't have to prepare,
when you don't do your own questions or anything, and you just sit down.
Well, you could have been in here. You're saving Eternia or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and then,
it's a He-Man reference.
When people come down and need shirts, you got to help them out.
Yeah, I understand.
About giving stuff to other people. Even though we know you don't appreciate it. Not everybody has their own segment. I don't even have one.
No.
I don't either.
Sean doesn't have one.
Nope.
How many do you have?
Is this a pity party?
How many do you have?
No.
Yeah, how many do you have?
How many segments do you have?
2, at least.
At least 2.
At least 2.
Today. What do you mean 2?
At least 2.
What 2?
Well, we put stuff on the Schaefer scale.
Yeah,
and the recipe
corner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't you roll your eyes?
Look, these aren't segments.
Yes, they are.
They're ways to laugh at Lee.
No.
Yeah, they are.
What?
Yeah.
Lala?
That's what
Laugh
they are.
at Lee.
Nobody's here to laugh at you, Lee.
I know.
We would never do such a thing like that, Lee. Come on, buddy. Friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, bud.
That's laughable.
I just know what's going on here. I'll just let you know.
I doubt that.
I'll keep playing along.
I doubt that.
I know what's going on here.
It's going to be all right, Lee.
Okay.
Man.
Well.
It's tough.
You know what, Sean?
I'm not really sure. Roy, what's up, man? I feel sorry for Lee now.
Where can people find us, Sean?
They can find us on our Facebook page at Steel Revolution Podcast, USW Local 105. Apple Podcast app, Podcast Addict for Android devices, the Android app, Google Play Music, iHeart Radio app, Spotify, YouTube, the Odyssey app, Libsyn.com, Local's website, and the men's restroom here at Local 105.
You forgot something.
Did I?
Yeah, the first time we did this, you were like,
yeah.
Who listens on a Android app?
Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't know. I wasn't knocking it, man. All right, ease up.
I just think you go up to people, you're like, what kind of phone is that? And they're like,
what, phone change?
It's an Android.
No.
It's an Android, and you're like, oh,
what
looks good on you.
No, that is not how I roll. So
Yeah.
Maybe you can put that clip in at the end.
Yeah.
you know what? No, not doing it now.
No?
Looks good on you though. I've seen that movie plenty of times.
Classic.
It is.
And we need a new pint glass. We'll work on that.
We'll work on it. Yep, we'll get it.
Oh, is that it? Did we forget anything else?
I hope not, because this is getting out of hand with this.
I think we got
ending,
it.
and
I think we got it.
I hope so.
It's only number 2.
You got to take a 2?
It's only number 2.
Did you press record?
He better
Yes,
have.
I did.
How
All
dare-
right.
Just making sure.
Who's doing this over here?
I don't want to have to do it a third.
Sean is a professional.
You said that with a straight face.
I know.
How?
Did you?
I'm
encounter these-
offended. I'm offended for you that
Did
he
you
even
encounter these
asked.
problems in Cape Girardeau?
No, I did not. Nor the Quad Cities,
Oh yeah.
where I'm from, Moline.
He's trying. He's trying to make fun of you now.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
All right.
No.
Okay.
Let's end this.
Okay.
All right. Well, don't forget to say something good about your union.
Every day.
See ya.
Later.
Bye.
Steel Revolution.